Hello and a very warm welcome back to Hugh's Nursery, and the week which is coming up, and it's a bit unusual for me to do two videos in a week, but the week which is coming up is a very special week because on Thursday the 7th of March my book Veg in One Bed is being published, and I just wanted to tell you a few exciting things which are happening as a result of that. And also I think it's really important that I have a video where I say why I actually wrote this book in the first place and who I wrote this book for. This coming week my channel is going to experience something it hasn't experienced for perhaps 3, maybe even 4 years, where I upload multiple videos. And I remember I was probably about 13 or 14 and I decided to do a cooking week, and I did about 5 different recipe videos, and you can watch them if you want. I'll link them below. So if you want a bit of a laugh, you can watch them. So what's happening this week is from March the 7th on the Thursday, then the Friday, Saturday and Sunday, I'm going to be releasing a new video on each of those days. Before I speak from my heart and tell you why I wrote Veg in One Bed, my publishers, Dorley and Kindersley, asked me to make a 30-second promotional video to kind of use maybe as a Facebook ad. I'm not entirely sure how it will be used, but to make a 30-second video to kind of promote the book and what it's about. So I'm going to show you that, and then I'm going to dive in a bit more detail about why I did write it and why I felt that there was a need for this kind of book. Have you always wanted to grow your own food, but you're struggling with a small garden? Well, in this book, Veg in One Bed, I show you how easy it is to grow almost 20 different vegetables throughout the year in one raised bed, even if you have no growing experience. The book is peppered with clever ideas for you to use, like using bamboo to create an instant trench to sow seeds. So get yourself a copy from Amazon today to begin your food growing journey. After a ton of hard work and also a degree of luck, I was very fortunate that DK contacted me and said, look, we want to make a book, come to London and we'll discuss it. So I approached them with a few ideas, and one of them was about trying to eliminate the problem of overwhelm. And I see it time and time again, and I'm sure a few of you can relate to this. When you take on something like an allotment plot or a back garden, and you're just starting out and you have no experience whatsoever in growing food, perhaps you've done a few pots or something, but you haven't kind of taken it to that next level, you suddenly feel very overwhelmed. If you have a big space to manage and you don't quite know all of the skills yet, and you're reading loads of books and you're watching loads of videos and you still feel overwhelmed. And I feel that actually the feeling of overwhelm is one of the biggest reasons why people give up gardening and growing food so early on. So I've seen that there are tons of books out there about growing in containers. You know, those are great. If you've got a small garden, that's great. But if you have a small garden and you want to take things on to the next level, I don't really see books out there which offer a really nice step up, which is going to show beginners how they can really maximize their space from a single raised bed. Because the difference from going from a few pots or containers or grow bags to an allotment plot is massive. It's almost like driving a Honda Jazz to driving a double-decker bus. It's a huge step, and to me it almost feels like going from doing GCSEs to A-levels, but only a few of you can relate to that. So I said, what if we created a book which focused on just one raised bed, and it was a chance for people who want to take growing to the next level, or just starting out, or have just had an allotment, to learn all of the skills that they need to grow a lot of food. But a single raised bed is this lovely manageable area. It's defined by its 1.2 by 3 meters or 4 by 10 foot. And it's actually a really small area, but in Veg in One Bed, I teach all of the key things you need to know, such as respecting the soil, composting. You also grow in that small area through the year, enjoying harvest every single month, 19 different vegetables. And when I was doing the calculations on reserved estimates, you'll be able to grow at least 200, possibly up to 300 portions of vegetables in a year for not much effort. And after initial setup, on average, you'll need 2 or 3 minutes a day to maintain it. And you can do that in blocks where maybe you spend a couple of Sunday mornings, just half an hour or an hour every month, just tending to it. And of course, there's a bit of watering and stuff, but I've done it in a way where every single month, there are just a few new projects to do. And the prime thing that I'm trying to get across as well is the idea of succession and maximizing space. So with a tiny back garden, you can fit in some of them a small raised bed, but a lot of people I see, and I had this on one of the reviews, they'd been allotmenteers for years and lots of experience, but they always had long times during the winter where a lot of their ground, or even during the summer, was fallow, so there was nothing growing in it, because they didn't really know that they could do succession planting. And by having a bit of a plan and a strategy, you can fit a lot in, and you can get 3 crops from the same area over the course of a year. And also to utilize things like harvesting vegetables in the winter and also having things for the hungry gap. So in a nutshell, Veg in One Bed is all about empowering the reader to learn all of the skills that they need. You grow a wide variety of produce, so they come away with the confidence to think, okay, I can upscale this if I want, and they just eliminate that feel of overwhelm. And the way we designed the book complements that, because every month, as I said before, are just a few new projects, and you've also got things to harvest as well, which is the joy. And it's also about focusing on what is successful and just putting all your energy into thinking positively rather than being a pessimist. Because I hope once people have success with a single raised bed, they do have the confidence to think, okay, I can double or even quadruple what I'm doing. And that is just going to really cut down on the amount of people who are going to feel overwhelmed about growing food. And of course, it would be really nice to include things like growing tomatoes. So I actually included that there's a small container section where you can grow things like tomatoes. They're actually quite tough in most areas of the UK to grow tomatoes outside. And I felt because there was such a high risk factor with them, to not include them in the raised bed, just to maximise harvests, which are much better suited to the climate. Throughout the journey of writing the book, I really put myself into the shoes of a beginner grower, and I just wanted to approach it through their perspective. There are so many fantastic books which are aimed for new growers, but I always feel that they have so much information and so much clutter. Not really clutter, but information which is useful in maybe the 2nd or 3rd growing season. What someone who's starting out really wants is something to just guide them through the process and just focus on the things which they're most likely to come up with. So things like frost and hardiness, and how to make a compost bin, and the basics of looking after your soil. And it also includes some of the key pests and diseases which they're going to come across. But I didn't want to overwhelm a reader with 50 or 60 different pests and diseases throughout the book, because it's just going to push more excuses. And yes, of course, I do appreciate that some of these pests and diseases are common. So I included those, like how to deal with birds if they're stripping down your chard, how to deal with slugs and snails, how to deal with black fly on your broad bean shoots, how to deal with blight on your potatoes. I included the most common ones throughout the book, and there isn't actually much. A lot of vegetables which you grow, you'll be very unlucky to come across really big problems unless they're the main ones. And I feel that there's no reason to scare readers with all these countless number of problems which could come up. And if they do, well, it's only going to be to basically one vegetable, and you're still growing another 19 different ones. I feel that Veg in One Bed is the book which starts from nothing and slowly but surely builds up all the skills and confidence that someone needs as an amateur or beginner grower, and to just not feel overwhelmed. I really like the design of the pages. On each page it's just very nicely laid out, and it's so simple to follow. And when I'm showing other people that, hey, even I could do this, it's literally a guide to hold your hands through the whole process. And I feel that there isn't another book out there, and of course I'm going to be biased about this, but there isn't a book which focuses on the transition from just a few pots and containers into an allotment or a larger kitchen garden like this. And the most important thing in a transition or expansion period is to make sure that the connection in between small and big is a really nice clear path which anyone can follow. So I really hope that Veg in One Bed does offer that clear path, and I'm super excited to see what happens. If you would like to get a copy, or you know someone who would benefit from this, and maybe even yourself, you have a lot of experience, there might be a few things in there which you might not have considered before. I've got a few things in there which aren't included on any of my videos, so it would mean the world to me if you pre-order it or get it on the day it comes out, so you can boost the bestseller ranking. And just thank you for sitting through this video and just learning a bit more about why I wrote Veg in One Bed. And I look forward to seeing you on Thursday, Friday, Saturday and Sunday with videos which are kind of actually related to this book. So we're going to do a book week special, so stay tuned. Thank you very much, and please let me know what you think down below in the comment section. Also, I'm very sorry it got dark. It is one of those days where when you film, it's sometimes the worst, where you have patchy blue sky and patchy clouds, and if you're filming on manual, it is such a headache. And I remember when I was filming for ITV Coast and Country, we were doing a 5-minute piece, and it took about 6 or 7 hours to film that 5-minute piece because of this problem of the sun like now coming out again. And they skipped lunch, and food is very important, and I went lunchless for that day, which just made it even worse.